Ladies and gentlemen, the swamp is alive. This swamp is alive on episode 3 of Swamp Thing He Speaks. When we last left the episode, Swamp Thing, not Abby, Swamp Thing just saved little Susie Coyle from being killed by one of Avery Sunderland's goons. Swamp Thing put his tentacles into him and like ripped the guy apart. I did watch the episode on the CW, and I laughed because I first watched it on DC Universe, and I saw the part where Swamp Thing had killed the guy and basically ripped him into 7 different pieces. And then I watched the episode again on the CW, and they conveniently cut that part out, which I knew was going to happen because I knew that they were going to severely edit the show. I laughed like when it came to things when people were cursing, they basically just like put a blur over a person's mouth so you couldn't actually see them say like the curse words, and they blurred the curses out. So pretty typical, pretty standard stuff that I figured would go on. So anyway, so now so now in the next episode, so the dude is dead. Abby got Susie and she's taking Susie back to the hospital. So in this episode, Alec, so we get an actual Alec Holland cameo. Alec, he's walking through the forest and he bumps into the guy that Swamp Thing just killed. So I don't know if Alec Swamp Thing is just daydreaming, or is he somehow manifesting the spirits of his human form and of the person that he killed? You know, just like how on Black Lightning, how the tattoo man, every time he kills somebody, that person's essence, like, you know, gets tattooed onto his body, and then they come back and they talk to him. So he's having a conversation with the guy that he just murdered, and the guy's like, "You don't even remember me, boy. You just cut me in two." And then Alex is like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." And then, you know, he snaps out of it, and then Swamp Thing, you know, like he wakes up and he's just like, "Oh, I must have been dreaming." And then he sees the dead corpse of the guy that he ripped into 2 pieces. He sees him on the floor, and then he's just like, then he walks away. And then swamp roaches showed up. The swamp roaches showed up. They started attacking the pieces of this dead guy's body. And when the swamp roaches started crawling all over the guy's dead body pieces, the body pieces started to move, like the guy's hands started moving, you know, and then the roaches, like the swamp roaches, put this dude back together. So the swamp is alive. Like the swamp, like the devil is alive in Moray, Louisiana, and it's in the swamp. And I'm still trying to figure out where Susie's connection is in all this, how she connects to Swamp Thing, but the swamp's got him out of his own. So the next day, Abby, she wakes up the next day. She's talking to Liz because she's still staying at Liz's house. Liz is just like, "Hey, you know, like I heard you saved the girl last night. You know, like you're a hero. You should take a victory lap." And then, you know, Abby was like, "Nah," because she was like, "You know, when I saved Susie, there was a man out there covered in seaweed, and you know, when I rescued Susie, I was talking to Susie. Susie told me that the seaweed monster's name was Alec because, you know, he spoke to her." And then Liz was just like, "Alec?" She's like, "Oh shit." And then she was just like, "Well, you know, you've been looking for Alec. If he said he was Alec, what did you do?" And then Abby was like, "The only thing I could do." She's like, "I ran. I fucking ran." I was like, you damn sure did run. You know, but she tried to use the excuse, like Abby was like, "Oh, I did the only thing I could do." She was like, "Susie was going into shock." I'm like, Susie was not going into shock. Susie was not going into shock. Susie was having a flat out conversation tea party with Swamp Thing. Abby showed up. She got scared, and then she was like, "Susie, get your ass over here!" And then she took Susie and ran, talking about Susie was going into, you know. So it's like you said, like you got scared and you dipped. But now she's just like, now that she was told that this is Alec, you know, she needs to figure something out, because now she's feeling guilty that she ditched on him. She ended up getting a phone call from the hospital. She goes down to the hospital. Apparently the CDC sent a CDC supervisor down there to basically take over from Abby's investigation on the whole plant situation. And then the supervisor was a complete dick. He was just like, "Oh, we're trying new methods that aren't yours, bitch." And I was just like, damn, dude, like, it ain't even answer. And then they said that this other guy, you know, this other scientist was there. In the last episode, we met the scientist and the scientist's wife, the one that was responsible for the pathogen that was placed in the swamp. Because Avery Sunderland's whole thing was he hired that scientist to come up with some chemical compound that was supposed to enrich the swamp, enrich the soil, make the trees stronger, make flowers grow, which would develop new plants that they could use for, for medicine and things of that nature. He was supposed to enrich the swamp, but apparently the guy's thing backfired, and now the swamp is alive. Nobody knows why the swamp is alive. So Avery Sunderland basically hired that guy. His name was Woodrow. He hired Woodrow to investigate the whole swamp situation. I guess the CDC is a part of it. That's why the supervisor came. So the supervisor and Woodrow, they're basically taking over the whole hospital, and they're trying to shut Abby out of the whole situation. Abby goes and talks to Woodrow for the first time. The two of them have a conversation. They basically have like a doctor's dick measuring contest to see who knows what better than who. And in which Woodrow had said to Abby, he was just like, silly woman. He was like, he said, this is war. He was like, you think these people are human? This is war. It's the swamp versus the humans, and so far swamp 1, human 0. So that was their whole dynamic. So then Abby goes into, remember she has like the gay Asian friend. She goes into his office, and then she sees that he got infected by the swamp disease. So he's passing out. She's trying to save him. Like everybody shows up. They put him on a gurney, and they put him in intensive care. Abby starts freaking out. She goes back to Liz, and she's like, yo, I need to borrow your boat, because she was just like, listen, she was like, my friend is now sick, so I need to go back to Alex, like his laboratory that Avery Sunderland won't let her go into. And she's like, I gotta find a cure. She's like, I'm not gonna let my friend die. I gotta find a cure for this disease, like right now. So she jumps in the boat. She flies down to where the house was where Alec was doing his experiments. And she breaks down the door, and then like she's digging through all of his paperwork, and she's trying to find something that could help save her friend. While she's trying to do that, remember the swamp roaches. The swamp roaches basically created, like the guy that got killed, that was trying to kill Susie, the guy that Swamp Thing killed. The roaches put Homeboy back together, and Homeboy busted into that into that laboratory and tried to attack Abby. So he went after Abby. Abby tried to run, she couldn't run, and then Swamp Thing made a cameo in his own TV show. He popped up out of nowhere, and then he fought the dude. He saved Abby from from getting killed, and then he put his hand onto, because again, like this is a dead person who was put back together by roaches, so it was very nasty. So he has his hand on him, and he's just like, let this poor soul go, leave the girl alone. And then like the roaches, like disperse, they scatter all over the place. The guy's body parts fall back to the ground, and then Swamp Thing turns to Abby, and he's like, you're safe now. And then Abby's just like, are you Alec Holland? And he's just like, yes, Abby, it's me, Alec. She reacted to him like, she was still scared. Like she was still scared. Like she didn't give the man a hug. Like she didn't be like, what happened to you? But the two of them had like a nice little brief conversation. And then she was just like, like we're gonna try to cure you. We're gonna try to find out what's happening, about why the swamp is attacking people, why the swamp is fighting people. And then Swamp Thing was like, the swamp isn't fighting. The swamp is fighting back. And you could tell like he can communicate with the swamp because he was able to talk to the swamp roaches, which was very gross. So he was talking to the swamp roaches, so he can communicate with the swamp. So he was telling her what the swamp wants. He's like, the swamp isn't trying to take over. The swamp is defending itself. So then Abby goes back to the hospital, and then, because they were giving her friend like antibiotics. And then she was just like, oh, he doesn't need antibiotics because the antibiotics are trying to kill the swamp virus bacteria that's in his system. So she was like, the reason why he's getting worse is because the swamp virus that's in his system, it's fighting back against the antibiotics because it feels threatened by what's happening to it. So like they said, like it's fighting back. So Abby was like, take him off the antibiotics and put him on 5 cc's, whatever the hell that is. And then whatever the cc's were, I guess it didn't try to kill the virus. I guess it worked with the virus, and then the guy's temperature dropped, and then her friend started feeling better. So then, then she stuck it into the supervisor's face. She was like, yeah, sucker. And then she was like, give everybody in the hospital 5 cc's, and then now we can start helping people. We can start curing people, slowly, like one day at a time. And that was pretty much it for for Abby at that point. So now Liz basically, like, she rolled up on Avery Sunderland's lawyer because she was just like, yo, I know there's some shady practices going on, and she was just like, I know I'm with the press, but you're gonna talk to me one way or the other. So the guy kind of like blew her off, and then Liz got mad and she walked away. The lawyer, this takes us now to the Sunderland household. The lawyer showed up at the Sunderland household, and he was just like, yo, a reporter's like, digging into what you're doing. So he was like, yo, stop doing what you're doing, because I'm not giving you any more money. Like, I'm cutting you off, because if this thing gets back to you, it gets back to me, and I'm not getting in trouble because I was doing shady business practices for your ass. So then now Avery's mad, and he's just like, oh, I needs to get more money, and I gotta find more money. So then it takes us back to the Woodrow household, where Dr. Woodrow, he's talking to his wife. His wife is taking some pills. And during their conversation, the wife was just like, oh my God, Jason. She was like, do you know what happened to my pills? And he was just like, yeah, you took them already. Apparently, his wife has some sort of mental illness. She has a severe mental illness that is causing her to lose her memory. I don't know the actual technical term for it, but I don't want to say Alzheimer's, but she's basically losing her memory, and she takes pills to keep herself, to keep her mind working. Her husband's goal in life is to find a cure for his wife, because he doesn't want to lose his wife. So the money that he's getting from Avery Sunderland to do this whole swamp thing will fund the research he needs to save his wife. But he told his wife, he was like, I'm not going to lose you, because I'm not going to live in a world without you. It's very beautiful. So then after that, so now Woodrow, he's in a situation where he's just like, I need money. He's like, I need money. He goes to his wife, because his wife is rich. Like, he married into a family that had wealth. He goes to his wife, and he's just like, hey, like, I need some money. And then she's just like, no, because she was like, like, I funded this foolish swamp dream yours for years. And she was like, I ain't giving you no more money. You cut off. And then he's just like, you can't cut me off, woman. And then they get into an argument, and then she gets mad. She walks away. She's still seeing her daughter. Like, she's still like seeing Shauna like all over the place. So Mrs. Sunderland, she going crazy. The sheriff, she goes to the Sunderland house to have a word with Avery about Alec Holland's death. While the two of them are talking, they start keying it up, and then you find out that the sheriff and Avery Sunderland have had an affair in the past. Like, he's been cheating. Like, Sunderland's been cheating on his wife with the sheriff. He tried to, like, sneak himself back. He tried to get back in the drawers, and then she was just like, oh, so now that your wife done cut you off, you won't come back over here, sugar? That ain't gonna happen. So then he's just like, come on, let me get some. She's just like, no. So then she get mad and she leave. Mrs. Sunderland sees her leave, and then Shauna's ghost shows up, and then Shauna's just like, father's cheating on you because he wouldn't stay faithful to you. He's not that type of person. And she's just like, don't lie to me, Shauna. She's just like, and Shauna's like, see the truth, Mom, the truth. And then, like, the mom going crazy because she's like she know her husband cheating on her, and then but she's being told that by her dead daughter, so she losing it. Mrs. Sunderland's flat out losing it. So now this takes us now to the Blue Devil. The actor male who played the Blue Devil in the movie. He goes home, and then the black blind woman shows up, and then she's just like, oh, me let myself in to give you another tarot card reading. And then the Blue Devil dude, he's just like, well, go ahead and read the cards. Because he said, I've been stuck in Moray, Louisiana for 8 years. And he said that he can't leave. And the way he made it sound was like this isn't a choice. Like when he says he can't leave, it's not like, oh, if he sets foot out of Moray, somebody gonna shoot him. He literally meant it like he physically cannot leave like Moray, Louisiana. He said that he has a task that he has to accomplish, and until he accomplishes this task, he can't leave the town. So he used the voodoo lady to see his future, to see if things have changed and if he can leave. So she done flipped over the cards. She sees the fool and the other man and the tall lady. And then he's just like, my cards are the same. It's been the same cards for 8 years. She's like, no, Daniel, but look again. The cards are the same, but they're reversed. And then she's like, has anything new come into your life? And then he was just like, yeah, like some chick named Abby Arcane. And she was like, you got to stay close to Abby Arcane because it could change your destiny. And then he's just like, all right, so I'm about to be on Abby ass, because apparently Abby has something to do with him potentially being able to leave the city. And then finally, in the end, Avery goes to his lawyer's house and basically beat the shit out of his lawyer, because his lawyer threatened him. Because his lawyer told him earlier, he was like, look, I ain't funding you no more money. And if you don't back off, he's like, I'm gonna tell the feds what you're doing. So now his wife cut him off. his lawyer cut him off, so now he mad at everybody. He ain't getting none from the sheriff, so he went over to the lawyer's house and he beat the lawyer's ass and he killed the lawyer because the lawyer threatened to expose him for what he was doing. And that came out of nowhere because Avery Sunderland does not look like the type of person that's gonna whoop somebody's ass. But and in the lawyer's defense, he gave it the old college try, but he got his ass beat. and Avery Sunderland. So Avery Sunderland's a murderer. Like, he's gonna do whatever it takes to get what he wants. And after he killed the dude, he had the dead body in the bathtub. Liz showed up because remember, she was trying to get information from the lawyer. Liz showed up. Avery was going to bust Liz's brains open, but then Liz, she ended up turning around and leaving because nobody answered the door, and then that was pretty much it for that. And then finally, after Abby had saved her, her friend's life, she went to the bar, she went to the restaurant bar. Maddie was there, police officer Maddie was there. He played this old song for her, and then, at their prom, he was just like, it took me 14 years to get up the courage to ask you to dance, and I'm gonna ask you to dance. So he asked Abby to dance. The two of them were dancing. They were having a nice little time. And then Swamp Thing creepingly showed up and was staring at Abby from across the pond into the restaurant. And then while Abby was dancing with the next man, she saw Alex standing over there, and then she kind of freaked out. Maddie was like, what's wrong? And then she was like, oh, it's nothing. And then she went back to dancing. And I thought that was hilarious, but I felt bad for Swamp Thing. So that was it. That was the episode. It was a good episode. Like, it had a lot of character development, like the development because there are a lot of people involved here, like between the Sunderlands and the Woodrows and the Blue Devil and the Blind Lady. Like, there's a lot of characters here. The funny thing is, we're getting backstory for every single character on the show except Swamp Thing. Because, like, he's being shown the least in his own program. But thankfully, because the characters are interesting, because everybody does have a story, and because, like, doors are being opened, you don't notice that Swamp Thing's getting the low billing on his own damn program. So in the next episode, so now that Abby and Swamp Thing have established a rapport, and now that Swamp Thing can talk, I'm pretty sure Abby's going to go back to the swamp, and she's going to have more conversation with him, and then hopefully we'll find out where Susie fits in all this, and then, like I said, the stories will continue to unfold as we go along. So thank you for tuning in. That was episode 3 of Swamp Thing. He Speaks. Episode 4 coming pretty soon. Check out my YouTube channel for other videos. Leave a comment, like, and or subscribe, because things are going down in Moray, Louisiana. And until next time, for the icon, take care, and me out this bitch.